organizer. I hope I am audible.
Good evening, sir. Yes, sir. You are visible and audible also. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Nice to see you.
Good. Sir, in a few minutes we will be starting as the participants are actually joining. So, sharp 5 p.m. we will be starting.
Start at 5. I will
Hello, sir, I'm audible.
Yes, Avnish, you are audible.
Hello,
Avnish, we can start now.
hello, sir, I'm audible, sir.
Yes, Avnish, it is audible.
Hello,
Avnish, audible. It is audible, Avnish.
hello.
Yes, Avnish.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, respected faculty members and all participants. Our distinguished resource person, Dr. Manmohan Singh, sir. We are deeply honored to have with Dr. Uh, with his vast experience in research and academic working. He is bringing with his wealth of knowledge that we are greatly benefit everyone. We are truly thankful to you, sir, for being here and sharing your expertise with us. Dr. Manohar Singh, sir, earned his BTech degree in electrical engineering from Government Engineering College in Jammu in 2003. He obtained his MTech degree from IIT Roorkee in 2010, and he has completed his PhD in electrical engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi in 2015. Currently, he is served as the associate professor in the electrical engineering department at Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. Previously, Dr. Singh worked as the engineering officer in the power system division of the Central Power Research Institute in Bangalore, where he was deeply involved in the applied research and consultancy with the power sector. He has the successfully executed over 14 consultancy and research projects as an investigator. His research interests power system protection, simulation, and modeling. modeling of the power system, microgrid, and grid protection, and control with significant integration of renewable energy and sources. He has published more than 20 journal articles and presented at 30 international and national conferences. Additionally, Dr. Singh has served as the consultant of various industrial and government power utilized and has conducted training workshops for organizing such as Bhaskar Based Management Board, Indian Oil Corporation Limited, that is IOCL, NSPCL, and Jammu and Kashmir Power Department, as well as the Central Collaboration of Advanced Research, CCAR, IBR. Dr. Singh is the senior member of IEEE and active member of the Power and Energy Society, PES. He is also member of the board of Visvaria Technical University in Belgavi and cluster-based relay coordination receiving recognized as the best conference paper at the 2018 Journal Meeting of the USA. His contribution have the earned his prestigious Young Engineer Award, IEEE PES in 2020, Best Faculty Award in Consultancy category at Punjab Engineering College in 2000. So once again, I welcome you all and now invite Dr. Singh sir to being this session. Sir,
Hello. Hope I am audible.
sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Inviting me. Really, it's my pleasure. I for this right.
Sir, I think your voice is not audible properly. Avnish, you can confirm whether the voice is coming or not.
Yes, sir.
Avnish, voice is coming. Sir, Manohar sir ki.
Voice is coming. Yes, sir. Voice is coming, but yes, sir.
The voice is stable.
Voice is
But I think, sir,
little
it is
bit
very
slow.
slow. There is
Yeah.
some.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So, so when I saw the title for this FTP, it was a quite attractive to me. The grid resiliency and the adaptive control evolution in the power systems. So very interestingly, so that's why I was very thrilled to be part of this event. And the topic which I proposed, that's the emerging grid operational and the control challenges with the integration of the inverter-based resources in the systems. Dear friends, as I think that it's a 2 hour session, so I have planned my things accordingly. But I wish to know whether this Dr. Avinish or Vishal can help me. Other side, these are the faculties or the students, so that accordingly I will plan my presentation. Dr. Vishal?
Sir, most of the participants are actually faculty,
Okay,
and very few are scholars. Like 80% you can say the faculty, and 20% is almost
okay,
scholars.
okay, that's great. That's great. So just I will show you one slide. If you can make out what I'm going to speak in the next this 2 hour. Yeah. So as an overview of my presentation, I will go through the key drivers in the Indian power sector planning. Then we have the Indian power sector as a glance. Of course, it's a quite evolving. I think in the quarterly base, there is a dynamics in the Indian power sector. The numbers which I have here in this presentation may be slightly older, but they are quite relevant for our discussion. Then we have the future planning of the Indian power sector. Since we are looking for the energy security in the country in the next 25-year horizon, so we have that planners are planning the Indian power sector in such a way to looking for the energy security. So what is our plan at the ministry level? Since I was the part of the Central Power Research Institute Bangalore, so you may see a lot of things which are happening on the ministry side. So I try to share with your audience. Then there are the few key challenges in the operation and the control of our national grid, especially when we have the future planned generation in the system. Though we have a very robust, very long and broad power sector in the country, but that power sector, what we have today, it is designed to handle a specific type of a centralized generation. And what we are looking in the power sector in the next 20 or 25 years, that is something slightly different what we have planned. Whether the existing power transmission infrastructure is relevant to us in the coming years or it requires some modification to suit our future and emerging requirement. I will put some light in that area also too. And what is happening across the globe. So those things will be also there. Definitely it will be of the great interest. Before starting my discussion, I have a one preliminary slide here for your try to understand what is happening across the globe. If I look into our country, essentially, though there are a lot of content in the slide, but I will speak which is much relevant for our discussion. If broadly, if you look in our country, we are a developing country, and we are growing at a rate of around 6.5, sometimes 6, and sometimes 7. So by an average, we are growing at a rate of 6.5 percentage per annual, and that is the equivalent growth of the Indian power sector. As our economy will grow, our power sector will accordingly will grow. Or you can say, as our power sector will grow, and our economy will grow. And if I still look at the per person energy consumption, that is hardly 1200 kilowatt to 1300 kilowatt per head, and that is quite below the world average. At least the three times we are below the world average. Now you can see what is the opportunity for us in the coming 20 years. So if we are going to track the world average, we have to grow by three times in the 25-year horizon. So if we are looking to triplicate our number in 25 year, now you can make out what should be the growth rate. 6 or 7 may not be sufficient in that way. We have to increase our growth in the power sector. So there's a lot of opportunity for the young engineers, especially who are in the power sectors. In the coming year, they will see. But when I compare this number against the 12th country, this is extremely poor. We are hardly 1200 if you look into the US, which is the 12,000. So there's a big multiplying factor. Since our ambition is not to become an average country in the world, we are looking to become an advanced country or the quite developed country. So we are not looking a that growth of 7 to 8%. We may be quite aggressive in that. So what I mean to say, what the power sector we have as on today and what the power sector we are looking in the next 25 or 20 30 years, it totally will be different. And presently, what's the trends in the India? We are doing very well on the some pockets, especially on the industrialization, and there's a rapid growth in the urbanization, and especially when there's a heavy deployment of the industry, we have the special economic zones, especially in the western part of the country and the southern part of the country. And there is a mix type of the urbanization happening around the capital cities and the other sub-capital cities. You can see these type of the development in your own state. I know that this program is hosted by the NIT Patna and NIT Allahabad. You can make out how the Patna is evolving, how the Allahabad city is evolving in the last 10 year, and what will be the shape in the next 10 year, 20 year, 25 year, 30 year. Correct? So what I mean to say, definitely there will be the urbanization in the country and the rate will be quite aggressive. So when these type of things happens in the nation, ultimately stress comes to the power sector. So we require a huge and a very reliable, the word is that reliable and the stable type of the power sectors. So that's why it's a quite relevance to us, and especially it has a very great relevance to us. Parallelly, things are changing across the world. If I compare my power sector against the power sector which is there in the West, which is there in the US side, or which is there in the China or in the this Japan side, things are totally different there. There the industrialization is already done. Urbanization is quite stable. है ना? So these type of things are not going to happen. They have their own demand, they have their present demand. The growth demand is hardly you can say 1% or the 2%. Sometimes it is not, it is net zero type of the growth. So those countries have their own power sector, which has been developed somewhere in the 90s, 70s, 90s, 80s era, and it is meeting their requirement very well. But but in the last 10 or 15 years, what has happened? There is a global warming issues. Due to those all global warming issues, different pacts has been signed by the different nations. Like recently in 2014, the COP, that Paris Summit has happened, where the government of India also is a part of that pact, correct? So in order to cut the emission of these greenhouses, essentially, which is coming from the different resources, it is not only that power sector is the key contributor to these greenhouse gas emissions, but yeah, this essentially for the thermal or the fossil fired power plants, there is a some contribution, correct? That's why the power generations from these resources is not much favored, especially in those countries where they have a not much growth. Correct? Here we have to understand the bottom line. They don't have a much growth, and there is an alternate potential in those countries. So that's why very comfortably those countries has entered into the agreement, and they are looking for the alternate resources. Correct? Alternate resources may be the solar, or it may be the wind mostly, but there may be some other resources also, but their contribution is also quite trivial, and the per unit cost from those resources is very high. So presently it is solar and the wind are quite promising. If you look into the US scenario, in that case, there is a very heavy development on the wind side, and same is true in case of the China also. If you look yesterday, I was just seeing a number. We have a presently installed capacity of 500 gigawatt, just close to 500, maybe 490 somewhere. China has around 500 gigawatt of only wind. Just imagine the number, correct? And we have hardly 50 gigawatt, 48 to 50 gigawatt. So China is developing at a 10 times in the wind side as compared to us. If I look into the solar, China is developing even though more rapidly in the solar as compared to the wind. But US, they are more focused toward the wind. The reason is that they have more harnessable wind potential. If you look into the European countries, correct? European countries has more harnessable wind potential as compared to the solar potential. But other countries like us are the countries which are close to the tropic zones. They have a good sunshine hour, and the solar is a very, you can say, effective in those countries. That is why the whole policy across the globe, the countries which are near the equator or the tropic zones, they have favored their renewable policy toward the solar, and other countries which are close to the subtropic zones on the northern hemisphere or in the southern hemisphere, they are looking towards the wind. Correct? Whether this or that. See, what is my point? Other countries are very comfortable because growth factor is not there. They have to migrate their existing generation from the fossil fired power plants to the renewable power plants. So annually they have to shift 3 to 4% like that. They are doing very easily. For them it's a very comfortable, and moreover it is a very beneficial for them also. What is the investment in the thermal power plants? Their thermal power plants are 40-year-old. If you look into the US, their power sector has developed in somewhere 1950, 1960. Their thermal power plants already aged. They have the retiring generations. So it's a very that costly to revive a very old thermal power plant, to replace the old machinery with the new machinery, rather than investing in the renewable like wind and the solar. Correct? So they are very comfortable in this side. But if you look into the Indian context, things are totally different here. Our power sector is evolving. Our power generation sector is quite young. I'm hesitant to say the young. It is a quite in the early stage. Hardly 10-year-old, 5-year-old, 20-year-old. Our power plants are not very old. Just to think, which power plant is 40-year-old in the country? Hardly few countables. Power plant which came into the 1960s or the 70s, the first generation power plant. But they may be hardly 5 to 10%, maybe 7%. Majority thermal power plants in the country, they are hardly 10 to 15 years old. So our a power plant has an age of around 40 years. A thermal power plant can work for 40 years on an average. So we have the young thermal power plants. We can't shut them simply down. Correct? We will continue to use them. Correct? And since we have a growth factor of this 7 to 8%, and this factor will be fueled to double digit slowly, because we are not getting only the power sector load. We are looking for the some other sector load like e-mobility. If the e-mobility comes to power sector, there are the reports, it will put a thrust of around 7 to 8% on the power sector. Correct? So our demand may get multiplied. So if we are looking towards the Viksit Bharat by 2047, we have to grow by the double digit, correct? So how to make up this much of generations? Now it's a very interesting question. We will continue with the thermal power plants which are there in the country, and additionally, we will go towards the renewable. It means now we are convinced we will go the renewable, whether it's a solar or the wind, wherever there's a solar or wherever there's a wind. So that way, our energy sector is growing, correct? So that's why daily the news is coming. The government has, in principle, accorded the approval for 500 megawatt solar plant somewhere at location A or location B, or some new wind farms are coming at some other locations. So things are growing there, and some new power plant, thermal power plant, has been commissioned in some part of the country. So we are growing in the renewable as well as the other side, the traditional side, and especially not when I say the traditional, it is not only confined to the fossil fuel. It is also the hydro generations. So hydro is there. It is the nuclear generations. Though we are not doing very well in the nuclear side from the last 20 year, correct? So 20 year back, the nuclear contribution was around 10%, but today it has fallen the 1% of the installed capacity, correct? So government is looking. There are some issues in the nuclear sector. Later on during the discussions, we may come across it, but definitely the government is looking to enhance the share of the nuclear sector also. So we have to grow with the traditional power plants. We have to grow with the renewable power plants. So what type of the power sector we will see in the next 20 years, it will be quite of interest. And why it is significant, why the other sectors like the e-mobility is coming to the power sector. This is the basis of that, correct? You might have seen that government of India, Ministry of this Transport and the Highways is framing a lot of e-mobility policies where promoting the e-mobility. What is the reason? Reason is that this uh, efficiency in the energy sector, electricity sector is very high. See, you can make out the number. There is only, if I have 100 units of the raw energy, I can get only 31 units of the energy which is being delivered to the customer. If you make out the losses in the last two blocks where the energy is in the electrical form, there is a hardly only 6% losses. Though it's a very aggressive, this slide has been taken from some developed country. But if I look into my country, the transmission and the distribution losses are quite high. They are around 20%. Yeah. So anyhow, that's a different question. So there's a lot of reforms are going on the distribution sector where we can curtail these losses in the order of around 15%. Anyhow, so what I mean to say, the energy when we handle in the electrical form, it is a very efficient, correct? So that's why it will cause a less pollutions, and of course, it is very easy to handle, and it is a quite efficient. That's why this transport sector is also coming to the e-mobility sector. Yes. So what the statement I made in the last around 20 minutes, those statements are confined in this slide. Transition in the power sector, correct? At the top, you can make out there is electrical infrastructure. It is not only we are changing the resource. If broadly, if you look what I'm trying to say, we are not going to change our traditional machine, correct? That's agree. We will change our traditional alternator with the IGBR. That's the inverter based generators. If it's a solar, in case of the solar, I have the solar panels, then I have the inverters, strings of the inverters. If it's a wind, I have the DFIG machine, and then I have the inverter. So there's inverter interfacing. Not only we are changing the these traditional machines, we are deploying some additional infrastructure in the power systems, like lot of automation is happening in the power sector, correct? That's why information infrastructure is being mapped on the traditional electrical infrastructure. So that type of the power sector we will see. If I look into the sector wise, see, I have the generation sector. In the generation sector, you can make out I have the renewables here, microgrids here, protection and the control, and the energy storage devices. So this is a new player. Earlier, energy storage we have never ever heard will be used as a generation, as a power generation. Okay, for small scale, we are trying to use the energy as a backup power, but we have never ever thought that storage devices will be scaled up to where we can store a large quantum of power. At other time we can use it. Correct? Uh, so this is the new things coming to the power sector. Renewable, of course, it is there. Where it is a storage, once again there's inverter because battery can store the power only in the DC form. Correct? So it has to interface with the system, with the grid. It should be the AC. So you require here inverters. Correct? Now coming into transmission and distribution, what is addition there? Diagnostic and the visualization. Earlier, see, still in many state transmission utility, even though I'm hesitant to name anyone, but since this institute is there in the Bihar, I don't know how many of you have visited the state load dispatch center in your state. If you go to the state load dispatch center, you will be see automation is there at 400 kV lines, 400 kV substations, 220 kV stations, but I don't think 132 kV stations are visible in the state load dispatch center. And what about the distribution network? It is not at all. You will not see any 33 kV, 66 kV, or 11 kV power infrastructure which is automized, which is visual to the operator. So that is totally invisible. Correct? Now in the coming 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, it's very difficult to say, but depending upon what utility in what way progresses, we will see the visualization and the diagnostic has more role. Correct? Those things will be visible to the operator. Then substations we have very traditional substations. When you go to any substations, since my earlier job profile, I used to go a lot of substation in the country. Still, I used to find out electromechanical relays, correct? Traditional relays, they were there. Though in majority of substations, I saw the numerical relays are already being replaced there. But still, electromechanical, traditional, single bus bar, those type of things were there. Now, the substations are getting digitalized, correct? So these are very compact type of the substations where things are in the digital, signal is coming to the control room. We don't have a very messy type of the cabling, DC control wires at the substations, correct? In the western part of the countries, we have already seen the digital substations. So those things are coming. Now the mobile applications, correct? Mobile applications are very interesting. Correct? So the towers are coming which can be mobile, especially in the big cities. We have a tower at location A. I don't think after 5 years that location is available to us or not. So things are coming. We can shift those structure from here to there. Reliability and the demand forecasting is very important. So we are looking for that type of the transmission system and the distribution system which should be very reliable, which should be reliable against the different contingencies. So these are the things which we'll see in the transmission. And other side, industrial and the commercialization things, residential and the community. It is not only we are developing a very strong power system, correct? We have to involve our customers. It's very important, correct? In the traditional system, generation was very stable. Ultimately, the things which is dynamic, that was the customer response, that was the load was not controllable. Load is the function of the application, how the power is being used, but based upon the power was being load was being tracked by the generators. So because you know that you can't store the power was generated as much the load is required there. So power dispatch was according to the load tracking. But as we have more and more renewable coming to the power sectors, so it is not the load tracking. It will be something different, load generation tracking, or I very difficult to say. It may be the generation tracking, correct? So involvement of the customer, which is technically known as the demand response. Demand response has a very huge role, correct? Later on in the discussion, I think I will come across this point. So it's very important for the stable operation and the control of the grid, especially when we have the very high renewable there. Correct? And not only, we require the policies. The policy should be framed in such a way where the demand response is there. Otherwise, if there is a no policy, I don't think customers are obliged to involve in the demand response. Correct? Customer will use the power as per their convenience and as per their cost of the power which is occurring to them. So policy should be there accordingly. So this is the transition of the power sector we will see in the coming years. And planning is a very important. So when the anything is in the transition, so planning is a very essential. Correct? If you can make out from this graph. So I have the three curves here: winter, summer, and the monsoon. And this is the daily graph has been plotted. You can make out daily for for 24 hour. I have plotted and not plotted. I have taken from a report. Correct? You can make out power sector essentially encounters this type of the generation portfolio. Correct? Especially if you look into the load characteristic of Indian power sector, it's a double duck. Later on, that curve may come across. Uh, area. It's a double that duck type of the characteristics. What happens in the morning time? In the morning time, we have the lesser demand, and it grows around that noon. Then it fall backs, and then every time it grows. Correct. So broadly, it has the two peaks. Now, so I have to meet the load requirement of my load curve. So in the traditional system, let me to cite the example. If I look into the Indian power sector, we have an average demand of around 200, maybe 55, or maybe 260 gigawatt. This is the average demand in the country, and the peak demand may be around 265 to 70 gigawatt. Correct? So 270 gigawatt comes for a very short time. Okay, let us take the help of this curve only. So that demand will comes for hardly 1 hour, 1.5 hour, or half an hour. For the most of the time, the demand is around close to 250 gigawatt or 240 gigawatt or 230 gigawatt. So demand is like that. Correct. So operator operator plans his generation keeping the average demand in the country. Correct. So what I told, the average demand is around 250 gigawatt. Let us take a number. How presently power sector is being operated. So now, since I took the feedback, there's a faculty on the other side, and my expectation is they may be well versed with the power sector. And if just let me to brief you how presently we are operating the power sector. We have a national load dispatch center in the Delhi, correct? Those national load dispatch center coordinates with the state load, this regional load dispatch center, Bihar is in the eastern region, and eastern load dispatch center is in the Kolkata, correct? Then each regional load dispatch center coordinates with the state load dispatch center, and Bihar state load dispatch center is in Patna, correct? And how the Patna will coordinate? Patna will coordinate with the all 220 kV substations, loading substations, which there are in your state. Suppose there's a 220 kV substation in Gaya, correct? And based upon the historic information in the last 5 years and the seasonal trends, demand, response, many other things, he will give us some number for tomorrow date demand. Now time is at 4:30, 5:30 p.m. Date is 9th of October. So he will say this number. Suppose that as on today, the demand on the GEA is 12 megawatt. Correct. This number he will further pass to state load dispatch center. Accordingly, Stored load dispatch center will compile the number, and that stored SLDC will identify what is demand in the state of Bihar for tomorrow at 5:30. I guess Bihar is a quite populous state, and the state demand may be around 12,000 to 13,000 gigawatt. I guess it. Meanwhile, you can Google it. You can come across the exact number. So around, suppose it is a 13,000 gigawatt combined number, and that number accordingly will be transferred to the Kolkata, and Kolkata will combine for the Bihar, West Bengal, Odisha, this every and the northern states, and that whole number comes around 50. Bihar, yeah, eastern region is not much industrialized. Let me to guess, around 30,000 gigawatt, correct? And this number go to the Delhi where accordingly each regional dispatch center giving the number, and the national demand comes 250 gigawatt. This way things work. But this is for tomorrow. So Indian power sector is planned, is being operated 1 day ahead planning. Correct? So we are planning for tomorrow 1 day ahead. And this planning is only for 15 minutes. Now time is 5:30. For tomorrow 5:30 to 5:45, there will be one plan. From 5:45 to 6 p.m., there will be another plan. It means the planning is divided into an interval of 15, 15, 15, 15 minutes. So for a 24 hour, there will be 24 into 6, 4, 96. So 96 blocks. That is known as economic load dispatch commands. Correct? So, hello, I hope my voice is stable and things are in order. Hello,
Yes, sir. Yes,
organizers.
sir.
Yeah, what happens in the virtual meeting? Sometimes that feeling comes. एक side से चल रहा है. So in between you keep on me disturbing, so I will
Audible,
feel.
sir. Audible, sir.
अब बीच बीच में आप भी कुछ बोलते रहो. Otherwise ऐसे लग रहा है एक side से चल रहा है सब कुछ. Okay, correct. So what I told? Yeah, yes. So correct. So there will be 96 blocks. है ना? 96 blocks. So plan is accordingly. And how the plan works? So there is a bidding in the power sector. Correct. Now the bid will be opened. ऐसा होगा. Now bid for tomorrow 6 this 550 bid will be opened, and bid is for the 15 minutes block. Correct. And there are the generators like the NTPC, NHPC. Means who are the generators? Whether they are the fossil fired power plants, whether they are the renewables, whether they are the nuclear, whatever. Means they have a megawatt which can sell tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. They will participate in the power exchange. There are the power markets, and accordingly, who is the L1, he will win the bid, and he has to give a reliability index also. ऐसा नहीं है, ठीक है? Suppose Mr. X wins the 80% bid, but his reliability is zero. Correct? तो उसको bid नहीं मिलेगा. This power market works in that way. Cost and the reliability and some other indices also, और उसका past performance, many other things. And now, for sake of discussion, let us take the example. I have the three generators. One generator is conventional generator, like this fossil fire power plant, whether it's an NTPC, whether it's an NHPC or whatever, correct? Or you can say, I will try to club. One is a fossil fired power plant, जितने भी steam वाले, their bid is 30%. Other is a hydro, correct? Their bid is 20%. And remaining 50% is taken by the solar and the wind. Of course, it's a very aggressive type. अभी तो ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है. But for sake of discussion, let me to make it. Remaining is a 50%, 30 by solar and 20 by wind. Correct? So this type of bidding has happened. Correct? Now, the bid has been awarded. What happens? Tomorrow when 550 will come, now what will happen? Who is the most reliable? The 30% bid has been taken by the fossil power plants. They will be able to produce the 30% of the total demand, which is what number? 250 gigawatt. 250 का 30% ले लो, correct? 75 gigawatt. So they will produce the 75 gigawatt. The word is that as per the commitment, correct? So why they will produce? Since they have participated in the bid, they know they have a coal reserve in their yard. They will burn the coal and produce the power. There is no uncertainty, correct? Coal है तभी bid क्या होगा? So there is a mandate. Each power plant has to have a coal inventory for 1 week. 1 week coal inventory they have keep. ऐसा कभी नहीं होता. If they don't have a coal, they are not allowed to bid. They should not tell, I don't have coal. If they don't have coal, my power sector will be down tomorrow. Correct? So it is a mandate. Each power sector must have a coal inventory for a week. For 1 day, there is no problem at all. Correct? If they are bluffing or something, so for tomorrow, definitely no problem. For 6th day, maybe some issue. Correct? Since 1 day ahead planning is there, so the commitment from the thermal power plant is 100%. They will produce the 30%. What about the hydro? Hydro will also produce the 20%. Why? Because there is a water in the reservoir, and he knows what is the today water. Tomorrow he will drain it and produce the power. There is no uncertainty. Correct? He is not looking for a run of river power plant. Pata nahi tomorrow what will happen to know. These are the reservoir power plants. What about the solar? Solar is a 30% bid. Though he has given a commitment, but tomorrow exactly 5:45 what will happen? It's very difficult to say. There will be always a division. Correct? 10% division is very easy, I can say. Correct? It may be the 20%. Just to take the 10% of 30%, which is 70 gigawatt, the 10% is 7 gigawatt. 7 gigawatt is the half demand of the Bihar. Correct? If there is a hardly 10% deviation, it will be the 20% deviation. What I mean to say, the commitment from the renewable power plant is not stable due to its inherent nature. It is not they are doing it because it's very difficult to say the reliability of the solar, and the same is true in case of the wind also. Correct? If there is a 30% error, and this we say generation forecasting. Correct? That's why I wrote their word demand forecasting. Now demand forecasting requires the generation forecasting also. Yes. So if I look into the 10% division of the 50%, which is the 250 का half हो गया 120, and 10% is the 25 gigawatt. So who will make up that 25 gigawatt? If the tomorrow the 25 gigawatt lesser power is there, then what will happen? What the operator will do? If he will not do anything, then the frequency will start falling. Frequency may come down and there will be the tripping of the machine. Correct? That will lead to the grid failure and many other events. Now the operator comes here into action. So since still he has the 50% power which is coming from the thermal and the hydro power plant or the nuclear power plant, they have the alternator, they have the synchronous machine. All are the same. They have the different input only, but they have the resources same. Correct? When the machine is same, alternator, and alternator has the inherent characteristic of the frequency control. That is the governor. It is equipped with the governor. Its governor will come into action, and accordingly it will try to manage depending upon the governor droop control. Correct? But regarding this much, what the big number I told, I am not quite sure. But if the renewable that share is 2%, 3%, 4%, presently governors from the hydro machines, from the thermal machines, they are they are this they are offsetting this much error. Correct? So power sector is working well. But after 10 year, 20 year, when the since today renewable share is hardly 20%, correct? Other machine share is 70%, 80%. So that's why this problem is not much visible. But after 10 year, 20 year, when the renewable share may be 50% and other share may be 50%, how the power sector will be operated, it is a questionable. So we require these type of the characteristics in these resources. That's why you might have seen whether it's a wind, whether it's a solar, they must be equipped with the frequency control feature. Correct? Now those type of the inverters are coming which have the droop characteristics. And it is not only the frequency control. There is a, if some contingency strikes. See, my discussion is up to here the frequency control. What I am discussing when the power system is under steady state condition. If some fault strikes under the contingency, how the system will behave, from where the inertia will come. These resources are inertia free. They don't have inertia. Who will stabilize the system under the grid contingencies, under the grid disturbances? It's a questionable. Later on will come it across. What I mean to say, the planning generation, the generation planning is very important. So the generation forecasting is a very important role, especially when the renewables are coming here. Correct? And now, what is the bottom line of it? Correct? What's the bottom line of it? I have what I told. I have the load forecasting. Correct. It is not necessarily load forecasting will be 100%. There will be also some error. I have the generation forecasting. There will be also some error. What the example I cited, I told only error in the generation forecasting. Suppose that 5% error comes into load forecasting, and that error is against the generation forecasting error. Then it is a 10% plus 10%, 20% difference. And for sake of discussion, I'm throwing the number. So this is a very big. How I can offset? Only solution for me, I must have some stored power which I can pump that time. Where I can store the power? That's why a lot of discussion is happening on the energy storage side. So that whenever this division is there, I can offset this division with the help of storage devices. Where we have the opportunity in the storage devices? Where we have the opportunity in the storage devices? So where we have the opportunity for storing the energy? The battery. Correct. And battery cost is very high. Correct. If trying to store the power at the battery cost, which is around 8 rupees or 10 rupees, and then we'll sell a power at the 2. Correct. So for sake of research or as an academician research are there, we can store. That's a very recent dream where we can store on the battery and the. That's right. Now, what other option? Pump the hydro storage. Hydropower plants are being now uh, having the dual purpose. Pumped hydro. The cost is low during daytime, high solar, that time will pump the power. And if you can understand the pump. These things are see where the opportunity for the researcher here. If we have a very accurate generation forecasting, very accurate load forecasting with the help of the AI-based tools, presently what is happening more than the industry. So if we have a very accurate type of the generation and the load, then bring that error very low, like 2% or 3%, then how much can cut the requirement of this quite low number. Correct. So here the researchers take out how much we can save if we have a very anyhow in bit I may keep on slide also. What is happening in the power sector? That information. So the core in the generation planning track the load in the. What about the generation planning? Correct. What about the transmission planning? We have to plan our transmission system way where we can transfer the power from the generation power plants to the load center. Very crude and very simple way of telling. Correct. Now where we have the quite first quite reliable transmission system and for the traditional generation. The traditional like this India right from the Vinachal Sindhi, the Sambalpur and the Jharkhand area and Chhattisgarh area, central part of the country where we have the lot of heavy industry. Those states and the urbanization is also correct. Demand, energy demand is low. What I mean to say, where we have the majority power plants, we don't have that there. We have the demand in the western part of the country, like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu. They're heavy industry. We have the demand in the NCR region. We have the demand in the Hyderabad. We have the demand in the Bengaluru, where the correct or the new SEZ where are emerging. But we don't have a generation there. We require a very reliable infrastructure that is being planned earlier. Correct. So our transmission system very reliable. What I told. What is it is planned for to transmit a power which is centralized in some pool and utilized in some other. Now what is happening? Since we have changed our generation plan, where we have changed, we are not looking for the fossil fire power plant hard consumption. We are looking for the renewable power. Ministry of Power has a very ambitious plan, 500 gigawatt of the renewable power. Correct. And fossil, we don't have any of those type of. तो चल रहा है 6% से वो चलता रहेगा where this renewable will come up? They will come up where it is quite harnessable and where the energy demand is there. And where is the harnessable energy demand? They are coming in Rajasthan, Thar, whole Thar area. Personally, I visited there, Bhadla, 1,000 megawatt solar farm at one. Correct. So these type of the solar, they are in the west, they are in the center, they are in the north. More or less, they are everywhere. I don't know exact status in the Bihar since the heavy industrialization and the demand is less in the Bihar, but you may not be seeing these. By and large, you will see everywhere. They are in the Uttar Pradesh, they are in the Chhattisgarh, they are into, they are here in the Punjab. Punjab has slightly highly agriculture, and they are into Ladakh, they are in the Lahore Spiti, and later on we have this. It's everywhere. There is a full spread in the country. When there is a full spread in the country, unless we have the everywhere, what I told, majority, they are high load, some are less load. This also distributed. Correct. So it requires a the planning. Let me to cite the example here. Awa bada kuch hai. Let me to cite a correct example. Now a new solar farm is coming into the lake, around 7 gigawatt. 7 gigawatt, but the demand I told for is 12 gigawatt. Correct. So uh, one Bihar like state, but they are in the Ladakh. Demand in the Ladakh. That will power will come. Now we require a transmission planning from the Ladakh to the NCR. Distance is around 700 kilometers. Trans-Himalayan region. Very high capital investment. Correct. This type of the planning what we require. Daytime, when we have the solar, we will transfer the power from the Ladakh to NCR region. What about the night time? Night time there is a solar. The night time this line will be, and this will be 760. Understand? We are leaving a line at the load, actually 760 kV line. The voltage at the other end is very high. You have to regulate the voltage. How that you can? A additional, like to vectors, many other things. So means these type of the challenges are there. Not only just to make a line and transfer the power. Line is there, it may be the ideal. How to keep the line loaded. Those type of the challenges will come. Correct. This is the nature of the resource. Planning earlier it was simply the generation, other side is the load, how much power I have to make the transmission line which can handle that load. Here handling the load is different, and that line should be safe when exceptionally suppose there is a fault on the one corridor, double circuit line. If there is some tower is down in some Himalayan region, heavy snowing is happening in the Himalaya, tower are down. That whole project erase. Correct. So then what's the pattern? So how the contingency minus contingency sure. So correct. That how all are different. N minus when one critical component is out. N minus two is the two critical at a time. And here it is n minus 1 minus 1. First is one out, then another out. Correct? This the planning is very that vital and slightly different when we're handling the renewable. Rather than making the long transmission lines, it requires a different type of design. Distribution side, is a very much neglected area. Correct? So there's a lot of side. Distribution side is a neglected area. Correct? That is the reason power sector. I'm a native of BJK. I will be some the number. We have a 50% losses in the, and I'm quite sure regarding the Bihar state also. There may be a higher side. Whole focus there to generate more and more. Ministry at the Delhi, they are making the plan. Today we are 480 gigawatt. In the next quarter, we will cross the 500 gigawatt. Next quarter, 520 gigawatt. And a very rigorous type of the plannings are happening. What is the exact is happening on the ground? We are losing 40% technical losses. Maybe some other. We are losing a 50% or water 20%, 20% power. So it is not much important and more capacity, make more and more transmission line in the country for the reliability. It is equally important we must have a very reliable and efficient power delivery. That is why the government is investing heavily in the reform. Of course, the tool where we can see reliability cases. Right? Planning is a very important aspect for the reliable power, especially when handling a nonsense time of the generators, which are happening in the region. Planning has no role when everybody is busy. But once we have a indiscipline type of the people, the planning is very good. So that's why I kept the all three sectors. And it is not only we are confined to the country. Here are the lot of discussion how we can make a global type of thing. What is here? At from 10 a.m. to a.m. I have the source. I will generate the power. Correct. I will run the and thereafter I don't have the solar. Wind is very limited in the country. Correct. I will not find the afternoon or 5 p.m. onwards. There's no solar. I will be dependent on power plants. Correct. Or some hydropower plants where the daytimes where I have pumped the power. Correct. This is the our domestic planning. History, or you might have heard these type of sentences: one sun, one grid, one nation, where the prime minister is narrated from the different. See, the sun rises from the Japan, Asian countries, then the Gulf countries. Accordingly, it rotates. Earth rotates. So, see, rather than the storing energy, the trans-country power corridors, right from here, country power. So, the daytime, when there is surplus power in the Asian countries, they can send it to the other. After 2 hours, we have the better power, we can send to the neighboring. So, accordingly, means we transferring the power that where we will. So, in that way, what will happen? We can share the variancy, diversity, what we have in the. And of course, it's a very that and what is the present status of it is a concept. You can say three phases: phase one, phase two, and when I say a theoretical concept, practically it is a theoretical. But since we have some trans-country link, the Bhutan, the Myanmar, Bangladesh, correct? So they are for the traditional power exchange, not for the power. And they are sending us yeah, at 7 a.m. in the morning, then India is sending the power to other country. That's not there. But trans-country links, maybe, especially, I think there's a huge potential in India and the Gulf countries. There's a lot of barren land. Power can be generated here and it back at 6 p.m. back to the country. So when it is 6 here, that time there is a 3 p.m. they are generating high. They can send power to us. So it has a quite high billing, requires the capital investment of lines. They are working on projects in the web. I don't know. The next 20 years we will see type of things. Yes. And if I look into the Indian power sector at a glance, of course, as but I kept few slides. Presently, though I have some central sector, we have sector, but better you look at So here the installed capacity slightly older, 470 now. The renewable here, here around the 50, correct? And 52, this number, let us break it. It is a hydro is 10%. Hydro has been, small hydros actually has been classified as a renewable percent. Practically, my title of my talk is the IGBR, inverter based. Hydro is not an inverter. They are classical machines. So when I subtract it from the installed capacity, but in the operational, how much is the, and this is the growth what we are facing. Right? And in the last 10 years, this already I have this COVID, it has fallen back. Otherwise, it's and annual growth, we are growing at this.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I think there is some disturbance in the voice actually. Maybe when you are moving, so some noise is actually breaking. Voice
Okay.
is your break.
I will hold the mic. I think that's better.
Okay, okay, sir. ठीक
I hope now it's better. I
sir,
will.
it's okay, sir.
Oh, yeah, actually I dropped in between. Correct. So this was I was trying to say regarding the generation sector growth. You can make out from here. We are growing by the same way what the load is growing, and uh, and the power supply position if you look in the country, correct. So this we have improved in the last 10 years. Earlier, in 2009 or 10, we were deficit of the 12%, and of course in the 24 and 25, the last year we are more or less hitting this deficit number, or you can say we are just at the verge where we can say we are the power surplus country. This is the one face of the coin. Since you can simply make out, is this a reality in that? Is there a reality in that? We are not a power surplus in that way. See what happens now. This is a number which are from the. Of course, this is taken from the that CEA website. The source I have cited here in the February 2025. This is regarding the metered power in the country. Correct. What happens uh, when the cost of the power is high and the consumer is not able to bear its cost? So he is not deployed to provide the power. So he is not accounted here that way. So, but whether we are able to supply the power to him, so definitely he will be out of that number. So what I mean to say, affordability is a very important. Correct. It is not only we will show some number and we can say we are supplying power each and everywhere in the country. That's not the truth. Affordability of the power, of course, there are the government schemes where the power is given at a very quite subsidized rate, and there's a tariff staggering also there. Correct. But there are the still instances where power is not given due to many other reasons. So that number is not actually included here. Now, since if you look into this slide, I said here, since it's a February slide, 470 gigawatt, and the total load in the country is, where is the number? Total load in the country here is load growth. Okay, in megawatt I have not, gigawatt I have not given. Yeah, you can make out from this slide. Peak, yeah, 249. Yeah, this is the peak demand 249. Yeah, around 250. Correct, 250. It may be now to 655 or something. So what I'm trying to say, I have a generation of 470, but load is 250. Correct. Then where the power is going? Where the remaining power is going? This is a number actually. There is a plant load factor. So what the power plants we have in the country, they have the plant load factor of only 60, 59. Now it has fallen, of course, further low. It is around 69%. Yeah. Average number. Central, private, central. Yeah, this is the average. 68%. It means on an average, each power plant is only 70% is available for the power generation. So if you multiply 470 by zero point 0.7, this number may be around 300 or maybe 350 gigawatt. 320 आप कर लीजिए in between 320 gigawatt. So we are generating only 70% of it due to the maintenance period associated with the thermal power plants. And solar also requires some maintenance period, but slightly lesser. Hydro also requires some maintenance period, quite high, and wind also requires some maintenance period. It means each and every power plant is not available 100% of time. Correct? It is only available 70%. Generally, it is being taught at the BTech level. Correct? Now, this is not the whole game. Then next comes the power transmission efficiency. I told in India, on an average, it is 22% transmission and distribution losses. Just to remove that 25% from 320, you will land up at 250 number. Correct. So when I look for the modernization of the power sector, focus is not on the generation. Focus is on the transmission and the delivery of the power. So far as the transmission is concerned, it's a well planned. Already I made the 2 or 3 statement. Transmission efficiency is 98.5%. You will be surprised to hear the number. Uh, Losses are close to 97.5. Yeah, losses are close to 2.5, 2.2, 2. Even though 1.8 is also there. So transmission system is very efficient, and whole problem is on the distribution side. Correct. So once we will improve that number, we may not require very high install capacity. Correct. So focus is on the other side. Yes. Now, what the pathway we have ahead in the future planning by 2050? Correct. Of course, not exact by 2047, by 2050, we have that one report. So this is what we are expecting by 2050. Today we have how much? 490 gigawatt. That time we require total, this is demand. Demand वाला कहाँ गया? Yes. Yeah. That time demand we require around 900 gigawatt. And we are here. We are here. Yes. See, this study has been done in 2014 only, around 10 years back. See, in this study today I feel very privileged how this study is in line with the government policy. In the 2026, let us compare 26 and 27. We are just somewhere 1 year behind. What's the peak demand in the country? Peak demand in the country is quite low, 260. Install capacity 700. It is around 500 gigawatt. Correct? उतना correction कर लीजिए 15-20%. Planning is done in that way. So by 2050, we may require around 1200, correct? 1200 gigawatt of installed capacity to meet this demand, double of this number, correct? Now today we have 250. This may be 600 gigawatt. It means a 600 gigawatt of energy we require in the next this 25 years. From where I will get, since as I told, we are not going to the new thermal power plants. Whatever we have there, we will not decommit them. We'll use it, but the new power plants are not coming in the country, and no new thermal power plant will be commissioned in the country after 2026. Whatever which are there at the different stages of the commissioning and erections, those will be commissioned only. The new power plants will not come up. And these are the renewable potentials, correct? They are in the run of Kutch. You can make out the total around 200, 300 gigawatt total. Wind is 30, 315 gigawatt renewable potential is there in the country. And this is quite old. As of today, if you look, there is a run of Kutch. You might have seen the government is now chasing this area. Sir Greek, that is that area. Recently, now it is coming the news, correct? So it is a something half other side, half this side. Government is ambitious for this area to use for its own power application and other purpose. Already there are power plants on the Indian territory side. This in between area. Thar, Thar already I told. Bhadla, there is a quite heavy deployment is happening. Ladakh is there. Lahore and Spiti. And these are the area where you have the good quantum of the barren lands, and they are close to the load center with a radius of 500 or 600 kilometers. Especially the run of Kutch and the Thar, they are closer to the Gujarat and the Rajasthan, maybe 300 kilometers away from the load. And if this keeps on, what I told in the previous slide, that time, since it is seen that power, yeah, in this slide I actually missed that my argument here. Why this is falling? In the last 10 years, we have fallen the plant load factor from 77% to 68%. Around how much? 9% loss. Why? It means we have the poor technology. We are not able to maintain our thermal power plants. Is that true? No, that's not a truth. We are getting power from the renewable resources. That power is cheaper. Their power is not getting committed. उसको लेने वाले कोई नहीं है. That power is costlier. That's why technically sometimes they are off. 20% time they were off earlier. The additional 7 to 8% they are off due to the they are not getting the power purchase agreements. Only they have the long-term power purchase agreement. They are not getting against the short-time power purchase agreement due to the costly power. It means the renewable power is costlier. You will be surprised to hear the renewable power the last year has fallen around the 2 rupees, and where the thermal power is about 3 rupees, sometimes 4 rupees, sometimes long-term PPA where it has entered maybe 4.5 rupees, 6 rupees. Hydropower is quite cheaper, close to 1 rupees, but hydro potential is very much limited in the country. Correct? So what I mean to say, the solar power is very cheaper. They are getting easily PPAs and they are selling their power. But other side, the case is different. These power plants are going idle. And when that scenario will arise here, the plant, the capacity factor is something different. The coal share that time will be only 32%. As in today, what's the coal share? 50, 51 or 52%. If you look in the previous slide, there is a coal share. Yeah, 52. This is 52 minus other 48. Means 50-50 more or less 50-50. And here, that time it will fall back to only 32%. And renewable will be 35%. Today we are 22%. Hydro is how much? 13%. Hydro is today 10%. It means we have to boost the hydro. Correct? Increase by 3% to reach a 180 gigawatt. Today we are the 10% of 480, only 50 gigawatt. Hydro we have to multiply by 3 number. Correct? Renewable we presently we are how much? Around solar is I think 70 or 80 gigawatt. Now we have to multiply by the 3 times, 3 or 4 times. Check करना पड़ेगा. Correct? Coal we are around 300, so we are not looking much progress in the coal. So this is the energy portfolio by 2050. So this type of the power sector we will see. Now, just imagine this type of the power sector, it is the renewable dominant type of the power sector. Yes, this number, we are 1%. We have to grow up in the nuclear sector also. Correct? And where this will come, this already I told you. Now, if I have this type of the power generation scenario in the country, correct? Now, what I told, if operator sitting in the Delhi is looking this type of the resource in the country and he has a commitment for tomorrow that 5:45 now, correct? And now it's a 6 p.m. For 6 p.m. to 6:15 p.m. tomorrow, if these guys take the bid and they are not able to produce the power as per the commitment, and these type of the scenario may arise. Correct? We conducted multiple studies, and these type of the scenario has been identified. So just to see, for a, I think where is the gap? Yes, here. This is a demand. This is the available generation. This is a demand, and the surplus or deficiency. Yeah. Here I have a biggest difference of the 70 gigawatt in the summer. Correct? This 70 gigawatt from where I can get? I can't get this 70 gigawatt from the governor of these machines. How much governor they can support me? Correct? 5%. 10% is 45. 5% is only 22 gigawatt. Correct? So that game will be out from this governor. And other machines have no governor. They don't have a governor here. Correct? Yes. Then who will come to my rescue? Who will come to my rescue? This is the planning. This is the planning. PSP, pump storage power plants. So they will come to my rescue around 21 gigawatt. Correct? CSP, correct? 30 gigawatt. This is the battery chemical storage, 30 gigawatt. Correct? So this was a 10-year back number. Then still I have some deficiency here. I will go for this load shedding. Correct? I don't have option. And since load shedding is not permissible as per the new Electricity Act, how you can offset this number? Here is the opportunity for shifting the peak, correct? Involving the demand response or having the better methods for the energy load forecasting where I can minimize this number. I can decrease this number, correct? So this is a game here. That's why the government is making a lot of the hydropower plants in the country. This is the information is here. This I discussed with you. I will go a bit selective now. Yes. Just I will have a cup of water, then we'll continue. Meanwhile, you will enjoy this slide. Hello. So, if you have any particular questions or query, so I will be happy to address at this moment. Otherwise, we will take it at the end of the session. Okay. So up to this stage, mostly what I have discussed, that is regarding the planning of the power sectors. Correct? Whether it's the generation planning mostly, or the transmission planning, and the modernization which can do, which can happen on the distribution side. Now, here remaining portion what I will discuss, I kept few points of course regarding the operational issue. If I have that type of the energy portfolio, what can be the possible operational issue? Essentially, when I have the long transmission line corridors, typically uh, where I'm intentionally to get the power transferred from these resources, so these issues will be very predominant. One is the stability, especially when the system encounters the faults or it encounters any disturbances, whether it's a sudden loss of the some generating units or the load, so it will attract the system dynamics. So presently in the power sector, I have the inertia, correct? Inertia of the that synchronous machines, which will damp out these large scale oscillation into systems. But if I have the weakened or low inertia into power system, then who will add a damping weight to the power system? It's a very important. If these oscillations are not damped out, it will be it will be big concern for the operators. So that's why the transient stability analysis, even though small signal stability assessment, is a very crucial when I have the power electronics interface type of the generation into system. Not only this, the voltage stability is also a equally concern. Already I made the earlier statement. If I have the transmission lines which are dedicated for these resources, the voltage control on that line is a very crucial. Since during the no load period, the voltage profile on that line may go uncontrolled. So voltage stability assessment is a very important. So those things is only possible if we have the additional feature, or you can say what the feature has the synchronous machine. By the way, let us explore it. Ultimately, who is controlling the voltage in the traditional power sector? It is a synchronous machine. Synchronous machine has the inherent characteristic to operate in the forward quadrant number 1 and quadrant number 4, where it will always supply the active power, and according to the grid conditions it will supply you the reactive power. It will absorb or it will supply depending upon the grid voltage profile. So it is ultimately the synchronous machines. So I require those type of the features in case of these inverters, where they can regulate the voltage according, they can manage the reactive power accordingly. Correct. So that's why nowadays inverters are coming, which are night night mode type of the inverters. Means when the solar power is not being generated by these resources, that type of the inverters will take care for the voltage regulations. And essentially, these resources are very fast. These are the switching devices, very fast. So fast, since in the traditional cases, I have the inertia. Whenever a disturbance comes, it is a synchronous machines which will absorb the disturbance for some times. But these resources are very fast, so it's very difficult to how to handle it. Otherwise, they will immediately get tripped. So we require very fast uh, stability control type of the devices. It may be the STATCOM, SPCs, or HVDC type of the model systems, which can handle, which can interact with the system in a very less time. So those are the things where these type of the machineries are getting equipped with these type of the technologies. And so far as the uncertainty and the variability is concerned, this already I have made some discussions earlier, and here ultimately we have to go for a accurate type of the load forecasting, and additionally one point which I mentioned, which I like to punch it here. See, when we are more dependent on these resources, correct? Like here, the solar. See, it is not only they are variable, correct? All of a sudden, when the sun will go down in the evening, immediately their generation will fall, correct? So we are losing a 30% generation within a half an hour in the evening, and the 30% generation within half an hour in the morning. It means for a very short span of time, I must require some resource which can compensate the down ramp rate and the up ramp rate of these devices. So means what are the options I have? Only otherwise I have to go for the load shedding in during that time. Otherwise it's very difficult to control the system. So that's why I must require any power storage or the power generation resources which are very fast, which are faster than these uh, solar power plants, correct? So where I have the opportunities? Only opportunity here I have the battery, correct? Or the pumped hydropower plant. I can ramp down the pumped hydropower plant very faster. I can't do with the help of the thermal machines, correct? Suppose if I have the thermal power plant, 50% thermal, 50% solar. When the solar goes down, if I ramp up the thermal power plant, I can't do it because the ramp rate of the thermal power plant is hardly 2% per minute. It takes a 1 hour to ramp the generation of the thermal power plant 0 to maximum value. By the time my system will go down, it means only the option I must have a fast ramping type of the devices. So my planning should be based upon what I earlier I told, but these are the operational issues I must take into consideration. This forecasting, of course, let me to escape it. This is regarding the voltage control. This is actual slide has been captured. There is a one power plant in Karnataka. Pavgada 400 kV bus voltage profile. You can make out from here, correct? See how the voltage profile fluctuates during the night times. And this can be only regulated with the help of dedicated voltage control devices at the other end, or using the night mode type of the, you see here, the night mode type of the operations. Okay. The other thing regarding the variancy which is arising from these resources, I will try to explain this, help with the practical system. See what happens just if you go to my previous slide, what I told. All of a sudden at 5 p.m. your solar will go down within half an hour. You are losing around 30% of generations. Then who will come to your support? In some cases, I can share the variancy wherever I have the choices. In other cases, if I don't have the choices, the diversity, there is very difficult to share the variancy. Essentially, when I have the diversity in the generations, if I set the example of the Tamil Nadu, Tamil Nadu is the one state where I have a very high wind potential. Presently, if you see the total number of the 48 gigawatt, Tamil Nadu percentage may be around 25% alone. 25% of that is around 15 gigawatt, correct? 12 to 15 gigawatt. So, in case in the Tamil Nadu, I have the wind potential. If I look into its neighboring state like Andhra Pradesh or Karnataka, they have a good solar potential. Correct. So when at the evening 5 p.m. when the solar goes down here, I can get the power from the Tamil Nadu. Correct. Vice versa. Is here what I'm trying to say, try to share the variancy, correct, by running the system in a larger pool wherever I have the diversity. Otherwise, running the system in the larger pool having the no variancy, it will complicate your problem. Like if Bihar and the UP are being operated together, there's no advantage because at the same time in the evening Bihar will also lose the generation and the UP will also lose the generation, correct. So my operational, what's the now sentence, my operational strategy should be based upon the resources what I have. UP can plan its operational strategy with the Uttarakhand, where the this hydropower plant. Bihar may plan its operational strategy with the Nepal or with the other state where I don't know Nepal is how much. Yeah, Nepal has some hydro potential, or some other area where it has hydro potential, or state can develop those resources which can complement their existing resources. That's why the power companies who are hydro in the nature, they have a very prosperous future in the next 20 years. They will not only sell the megawatt, as in today they are selling the megawatt, they will sell the grid ancillary services. This is the statement now. What is the grid ancillary services? To provide other services which help to stabilize the grid. Correct. So they have a win-win situations during the daytime as well as during the night time. Correct. So whether they are getting dispatched for the megawatt doesn't makes a big difference. They will be paid for the grid ancillary services. So that's why, especially the Himachal, this Uttarakhand, J&K, northeastern states, they are developing their hydro potential because they have this opportunity for business in the power sector. And of course, what I told here, rather than a day ahead planning, presently we are doing a day ahead planning. We can go for a 1 hour ahead planning. See, it's very difficult to tell tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. what is the solar. Rather than the telling now time is 6:30, of course it's a night time. If I say on the daytime, uh, if I'm discussing at 1 p.m. what is the solar potential at 2 p.m. it is more accurate to say rather than making a planning one day ahead. If I have a 1 hour ahead planning, that will help us. If I have a 1 hour ahead planning, it will help me to save the 20%. Correct. Rather than a window of the 15 minute, if I can decrease the economic load dispatch window to the 5 minute, correct. In the 5 minute, the error will be lesser. So these type of the new operational strategies are there. Running in a bigger pool, shifting the planning from 1 day ahead to 1 hour ahead, correct, rather 15-minute window to the 5 minute window, or you can say why not 1 minute window. It becomes very cumbersome because in 1 minute you have to coordinate and you have to run the algorithm, you have to sell power and take the decision. It becomes very cumbersome. But 5 minutes, whether it's approachable, whether it's practically feasible. In the US there are a few pilot projects where the 5 minutes this ELD window has been tried successfully, correct. So these are the opportunities in that way. And these resources must be equipped with the fault ride through capability, correct. Now it's a mandatory requirement. Earlier what was happening, whenever there's a fault, these resources were simply getting disconnected from the grid. Now it's not like, whenever there's a fault, since their population is very high, they must take the fault load into system. They must be with the fault right through low voltage as well as the high voltage type of the capabilities, correct. Reactive power control, yeah, it's very important. uh, we I have seen some power plants in the country where they are not able to sell their megawatt due to the no PPA, as I cited earlier. But those power plants were not paid for the grid ancillary services. Now, new regulatory, new this regulatory as well the tariff structures are coming, where these thermal power plants will be paid from the grid ancillary services. That's why, as on today, many thermal power plants in the country they are selling the megawatt only, correct? Selling the reactive power. Active power will be taken from the this IGBR. The reactive power will be taken from the thermal power plants. But that strategy will only work up to their age, since we are not getting the new power plants. So ultimately, we require the IGBR, which must be equipped with the this reactive power control feature. This is the yes, also very important. Just see my whole game to keep my system tight, and I must have the grid compliance. What it tells, correct? My frequency should be stable. Grid compliance is ultimately frequency should be stable and voltage should be into the tolerances. For transmission, the tolerances is plus minus 5%. If I have 400 kV station, operator has to maintain the voltage from 380 kV to 400 kV, correct? If the voltage is going outside, he must have to plan the reactor accordingly or the whatever, other way around. And frequency has to regulate within plus minus half hertz. That's the requirement. Now, this was very fine when I have a committed type of the power. Since I can track the load, I can match the frequency. Now, when I have a renewable type of the load, it's a very difficult to track the generation and the load. Correct? If I am not able to track it, then it's very difficult to maintain the frequency balance at 50 hertz. So, if I relax it, if I slightly lose it, making a window of the 2 hertz plus minus, what's the problem? Earlier system was like that. There is no advantage keeping too much tight. Relax the frequency. If the generation higher side, no problem. If generation low side, only the frequency fluctuation will come. So it will help the grid operator to operate the system. So earlier things were like tightening our design and the more expensive setup. I think now the reverse mechanism will start shortly, where this grid regulation, operation regulation will be revisited and it will be realigned to the requirement of the our emerging power sectors. How to handle SPB variability? Okay, so essentially this is coming from the solar when the solar daytime high. Okay, yeah, this was the curve what I was looking at earlier, correct? You can see here peak, then it evening peak comes, correct? So these three are how you will manage here. 10,000 megawatt, around 10 gigawatt load we are losing. Who can come to my help here, correct? So here only I have the hydro support here. Immediately I will pump the hydro here and here. Yes, this actually, yeah, I was not getting earlier. This is the ramp rate I have achieved with the hydro. I will share the slide across you guys since I have already discussed it. Okay, balancing the larger area, correct? And what I cited regarding the Karnataka, see, very stable this solar during this time. And if I look into the parallel, this Karnataka estimate, and other side I have this 220 60 gigawatt. For the good time, it's a quite stable. For other times, moderate. And I can complement this with the help of neighboring region. कहाँ गया? Tamil Nadu, actually, I'm searching. Yeah, I will share your class. Yeah, okay. So better if I get it. I think I don't have that. Yeah, the All India wind. Yeah, this is the All India. Correct. All India 100 gigawatt. Gigawatt. All India. Correct. It's only Tamil Nadu. Correct. Okay, let us discuss this. This is a 160 gigawatt. As on today, we have around this number for 2022. Bit older. What I'm trying to say, if I complement wind and the solar, see in the here in the horizon for around 10 to 2. It's a full day time right from January to November. I have the solar dominance here, correct? So I can take the support from the solar. In the early morning times here and the afternoon times, I can take the support from the other resources here. This is a wind. And remaining times, night time wind goes down also. Okay, wind has the different type of pattern. Here also wind goes down, and especially here during this month also. See the color is faded. Here I have to rely on the other resources. Correct. Those will be conventional resources and the hydropower plants. So this is the mapping of the our renewable this potential in the country. So our planning should be accordingly, and yes, and keeping those things into consideration, you can now make out here when I have a solar high. This is in terms of number of R here, correct? When solar goes high, goes down, then from where I can get, see hydro is here. Now you can make out the nuclear is there, coal is there, gas is there. So looking into the different ramp rate of the different resources and their availability, we have to frame an operational policy which can't be so unified as we have as on today. That may be depending upon from time to time, season to season, month to month, and especially region to region or state to state. Correct? That requires a very complex type of the operational strategy. So that may be helpful, and especially it should be quite that accurate rather than a one day had. Correct? That's why looking for a 1 hour had and a window of the 15 minutes. So those type of the challenges are there. Operator has to get equipped. That is only possible if there's a deployment of the AI tools, if there's a deployment of the high computation algorithm, if there's a deployment of the robust control and the communication setup in the power sector. Correct? So those things are growing day by day. So they have a strong. Otherwise, without the help of these type of the technology, this will be definitely difficult to handle a power sector. And, correct? And what I discussed during my this whole discussion, those things are here kept. Correct? Emerging operational challenges with RE, correct? Not only power system stability, voltage control, reactive power management, design of the protection. Of course, I work especially in this area. Just I will spend some time. And power quality is also very essentially. These two things, just okay. See, what the power we generate from the traditional resources? It's a 50 hertz perfect signal, correct? As the power travels from the source to the load center, it gets polluted. But the quantum of the pollution is very low. Essentially, the harmonics are pumped by the load, correct? Load, still we have the traditional loads which are less polluting, but now we are getting the DC loads, power electronics loads. They try the current harmonics, and those harmonics will get drained from the source, and the voltage harmonic drops comes to the system. But still, I should say the signal more or less retains its that nature, correct? What being produced at the resources. Now, when I have this power electronics dominant type of the resources, in that case, right from the source, I have the harmonic injection. I have the harmonic injection in the load. I have the harmonic injection in the source. So whole power transmission infrastructure will encounter the harmonic. There will be a threat to the power transmission efficiency. Correct? What I told earlier, it's a 2% transmission efficiency. But I am not sure this number, how much it will increase. So if we are losing some power into transmission due to the harmonic, that is against us. So I must have a provision to regulate the harmonic at the source side, regulate the harmonic at the load side. That's why these filters, whatever these IGB are coming, those must be equipped with the filters so that they can regulate the harmonics within the desired value. And coming on the protection side, these resources has totally different protection requirement. We have we have a power system, we have a very reliable protection system, but that protection system works on the high short circuit current. And the high short circuit current is given by the synchronous machine only. If I don't have a synchronous machine on some power line, power corridor, like a line coming from Leh to NCR region, other side I have only IGBR. If any fault happens on that line, then there is no short circuit. If I place a distance relay at Ladakh end, that will not detect the fault at all. Correct? Since there is no increase in the change in the short circuit current, that protection will fail. So I require some other type of the protection schemes which will able to detect the short circuit and accordingly clear the fault. Those may be some signature based, those may be some short-lived transient based event or some other type of the strategy. So this of course lot of research is happening on this side, but still I feel it is at quite at the beginning level. Correct? There is I don't see any industrialized or any commercial type of the protection solutions which are there. Of course, few things are there in the academia, but so far as the practical applications, things are not there. Still, those lines are protected with the help of the line differential schemes. I don't know how much is their reliability, but definitely this is some area where the researcher can work. And impact of the variable energy resources on the energy market. It is also very important how the market will get impacted by these resources. Correct? So people are working in the different domains and impact of the fossil fuel generators. When I increase more dependent upon the renewable power, so too much oscillations from the renewable power ramping up and down will impact the generators, conventional generators. It may impact their efficiency. It may impact their life of the generators. Correct? So it is also very equally important that interdisciplinary research, many people work in that area. Correct? So as a conclusion, correct? It is already I think 40 minutes I crossed. So I kept few minutes for the discussions. So as a conclusions, broadly you can read out what is my statement. Power sector is going under the transitions. Correct? Country to country, the policy is different, but ultimately aim is that the future energy requirement we will produce from the renewables. And especially country like India, where our growth is very aggressive, we will continue with the fossil and parallelly we will develop our renewable resource into country. When that type of the power system we have, it will be a distributed type of a generation into systems. Whatever the transmission infrastructure we have planned in the country, the utilization of that transmission infrastructure under that type of the generation portfolio has some challenges. Correct? It may be the reliability, it may be the operational issues. So those issues may be handled if we have involvement of the customers, consumers through the demand response. If we have some this better forecasting techniques where we can minimize the error between the generation and the load, or if we have the better operational techniques like the operating regions with the diversity, with the bigger area, or equipped with these resources IGBR with the help of additional features like frequency control or providing the reactive power control or additional features like how they behave during the transit stability. These features are required. Unless and until these features are not there, and we require those type of the devices, energy storage or the pumped hydro, which has very fast ramp rate in compare to the these resources when they are coming and going out. Correct? So it opens a lot of areas for the researchers who are working into the different domains of this area. And definitely in the next 20 years we will be here. We will see a power sector which we have a totally different nature. What we are being taught, what we are following the books, mostly it's a traditional power sector. Correct? And what we will see in the next 20 years, it will be totally different. It has a physical power sector, correct, which will be also changed. It's not the as and today power sector. Physical power sector will itself change. On top of it, we have the communication layer of the power sector. So it opens a many other challenges like the cyber security, reliability of this communication infrastructure, and many other things. So I hope I have spoken a lot from my side. I have passed 6:40. So sometimes, especially in the virtual meetings, it becomes very dead. You know, one person speaking without seeing the face on the other side, and the other side people how much they're enjoying. So it becomes a sometimes very dead type of this. Actually, I saw these cases. If it's a live, that in that way, depending upon the how people are behaving, how they are enjoying, so we can drive our presentation in that direction. So I will be very happy to hear from you guys. Now the session
So
is open to the audience.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, if you have any question, kindly unmute yourself, please. Sir, I am audible, sir.
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Okay. Sir, I think there is no question, sir. Sir. Hello. If you have any question, kindly unmute yourself, please.
No question is a very dangerous sign. So please ask some questions. Anyhow, so I hope that you might have definitely benefited from the content I shared you across. So I will be happy to take your questions. Otherwise, no problem. You can write me on my email ID. It is there at the end of my presentation. I will go through it. You can write me the email. I will be happy to respond you. It becomes slightly late nowadays around
Sir,
7 p.m. So I understand.
yes, sir. I think there is no question, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out for